Say this sentence 3 times a day, and you will never need to chase clients again. The Carnegie technique. For a long time, people believed that winning clients required constant effort, aggressive persuasion, and an endless search for attention. Unanswered phone calls, ignored messages, meetings where you speak, explain, prove your value, and still walk away without an answer. Most people assume this is just how the game works. But Andrew Carnegie discovered something that completely changes that logic. He realized that the most valuable clients are never won by those who chase them. They move toward those who radiate something rare: security. For years, Carnegie noticed a curious pattern. The most successful people did not beg for opportunities. They did not sell themselves. They did not over-explain. And yet, they were constantly sought after. This was not accidental. Carnegie understood that people do not choose suppliers, partners, or leaders based only on technical skill. They choose based on how someone makes them feel. And the most powerful feeling of all is this: confidence without need. It was in this context that a simple, almost invisible, yet extremely effective technique emerged. A single sentence. Not a sentence for others. A sentence for yourself. Carnegie believed that what you repeat internally shapes how the world responds to you. He said the market can sense when someone needs too much, and it pulls away. But it can also sense when someone is aligned, grounded, and certain, and it moves closer. The sentence Carnegie used was not a mystical mantra. It was a mental adjustment. It existed to remove anxiety, to remove urgency, to remove the need for approval. Because the main reason people lose clients is not a lack of skill. It is excess need. When you need too much, you expose yourself. And when you expose yourself, you lose leverage. Carnegie understood that before any meeting, negotiation, or important conversation, the internal state had to be aligned. That is why he repeated a simple sentence to himself 3 times a day, not to convince the world, but to remind himself who he was. The sentence was built on a clear principle. Value attracts value. When you truly believe in the value you deliver, you do not chase. You position yourself. And positioning changes everything. Carnegie observed that clients hate feeling hunted, but they love feeling that they are choosing. For that reason, he never spoke with desperation. He never rushed conversations. He never begged for decisions. He remained steady, calm, and clear. And that posture came from within. The sentence he repeated reinforced exactly that. It reminded him that he did not need to convince. He did not need to prove. He did not need to compete. He only needed to stay consistent with the value he delivered. When you repeat this sentence daily, something shifts almost invisibly. Your posture changes. Your tone of voice changes. Your body language changes. And most importantly, your energy changes. People sense when someone is centered. They sense when someone does not depend on their response to feel validated. That kind of presence creates curiosity, creates respect, creates attraction. Carnegie understood that true marketing happens before words are spoken. It happens at the emotional level. The sentence repeated 3 times a day was not meant to attract clients directly. It was meant to remove everything that pushes clients away. Fear of rejection, anxiety for a response, the need to please. When those elements disappear, something powerful emerges. Silent authority. And silent authority makes people want to get closer. Napoleon Hill would later explain that people do not buy ideas. They buy conviction. And conviction is not taught through beautiful words. It is transmitted through presence. Carnegie did not look for clients. He created an environment where the right clients felt safe approaching him. That is the real difference. The sentence he repeated was simple, yet profound. At its core, it expressed trust in his own value and in the impact of what he delivered. When you repeat this daily, your behavior adjusts automatically. You stop accepting just anything. You stop lowering prices out of insecurity. You stop insisting where there is no alignment. And that creates immediate respect. Interestingly, that is when opportunities appear. Not because you asked, but because you began to choose. Carnegie understood that those who choose never need to beg. That is why he defended daily repetition, not as a sales technique, but as an identity technique. Because the market responds to who you believe you are. When you internalize this, you do not just change how you communicate. You change how you show up. And presence attracts. That is why, once this sentence becomes part of your day, something curious happens. You stop searching for clients, and you start talking to people who arrive more open, more confident, and more willing. Not because you manipulated them, but because you aligned yourself. This was Andrew Carnegie's silent technique. Not a magic formula, not a persuasion trick, but an internal shift so strong that the world around you begins to respond differently. And when that happens, chasing clients is no longer necessary, because the right ones always find you. And when the right people begin to find you, another shift happens. Your conversations change. You are no longer trying to persuade. You are no longer explaining yourself excessively. You are no longer worried about being accepted. You start listening more. You start asking better questions. You start noticing who truly aligns with what you offer. This naturally filters everything. Not every opportunity feels attractive anymore. Not every client feels right. And for the first time, that does not create fear. It creates clarity. Carnegie understood that clarity is magnetic. When someone speaks from clarity, there is no tension in their words, no hidden agenda, no emotional urgency, and people trust that instinctively. They feel it in the pauses. They feel it in the calm responses. They feel it in the absence of pressure. This is why the technique works even when nothing is said out loud. Because the sentence you repeat 3 times a day is not meant to be heard by others. It reshapes how you carry yourself. It removes the internal noise that most people operate from. The noise of needing approval. The noise of fearing rejection. The noise of chasing outcomes. Once that noise fades, your presence becomes clean. And clean presence creates space. Space for trust. Space for curiosity. Space for real connection. Carnegie believed that people do business with those who feel stable. Not impressive. Not loud. Stable. Stability signals reliability. Reliability signals safety. And safety closes deals long before logic enters the conversation. That is why repeating the sentence daily was not about motivation. It was about conditioning. Conditioning yourself to remember that you are not dependent on any single response. That your value does not rise or fall with one meeting. That you are choosing as much as you are being chosen. This internal posture changes how you show up everywhere. In meetings, in negotiations, in casual conversations, people begin to sense that you are not trying to take something from them. You are simply presenting what you offer. And that difference is everything. When you stop chasing, your attention becomes sharper. You notice red flags faster. You respect your own boundaries more. Ironically, this is when people start respecting them too. Carnegie knew that the strongest influence is never forced. It is invited. An invitation only works when there is no desperation behind it. That is why this technique is so quiet, so simple, so easy to underestimate. But once it becomes part of your identity, it changes how the world interacts with you. You stop asking how to get clients and start asking who deserves your time. That question alone transforms everything. Because when you no longer operate from lack, you no longer attract from lack. You attract alignment. And alignment always feels effortless. That was the real legacy behind this technique. Not the sentence itself, but the person it turns you into when you repeat it every day. Someone calm, someone grounded, someone who does not chase. And that is exactly the kind of person people want to do business with.